Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 16 Beta 5. This is available to developers, and hopefully iOS 16 Public Beta 3 will be out very soon. Now, as you can see, it says 16.0. There is no Beta 5 after it, but on the website it actually says Beta 5. And this came in at 1.34 gigabytes on my iPhone 13 Pro Max. It was about 1 to 1.5 gigabytes on all the devices here, from the iPad Pro, iPhone 11, iPhone 8 Plus, and iPhone XR. Now, along with this, Apple also released iPadOS 16 Beta 5, watchOS 9 Beta 5, along with tvOS 16 Beta 5, HomePod OS 16 Beta 5, and macOS 13 Ventura Beta 5. All of those are available to developers now on all of the supported devices. Now let's take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. So we'll go to Settings, then we'll go down to General, then About. And as you can see, the build number is 20A5339D. This particular update is getting closer to a final, so it should be more stable, and we'll talk more about when to expect iOS 16 to release to the public a little bit later. Also, you can see the modem firmware is 2.09.01. This is an update from Beta 4, which was 2.08.01. Now let's take a look at what's new. Now the first thing that's new is, you may have already noticed, the battery percentage is back. Only on limited phones though. So if we go into our settings, go back to battery. Under battery, you'll see here at the top, it now says battery percentage. Unfortunately, on certain phones, that's not available. So on the iPhone 11, iPhone XR, and iPhone 12 mini and 13 mini, that's not available. For some reason, it's not there yet. Maybe it will be there in future updates, but they've brought it back to everything else. So it's kind of odd that they've done that, but at least it's there on some of the phones. I know a lot of people have wanted that. Also within the battery, if we scroll way down toward the bottom, you'll see we have a new section and icon for continuity camera. So if you're using continuity camera with macOS Ventura, this will actually show how much time it's used. You'll see 1 minute in the background. You will need to connect it for this to show up as well, but we have a new icon for it also. Now, if we go into music and maybe we're playing a song and then we go to the lock screen, you'll see we have the lock screen widget. However, it has a new waveform here when the music is playing. So it actually shows a waveform, and then the album art is maybe slightly smaller when it's in the actual widget, but we have a waveform here. If we pause the music, the waveform goes away. So that's just a small update to the music widget. Now, also within music, if we go into an album, there's more information here. So from Beta 4 to Beta 5, you can see under the album name, it actually says Dance 2022 when it was released, and now it's telling us that it has Dolby Atmos and lossless. With previous betas, it didn't show that. So that's just a small update that's really nice, so now you know which one is in Atmos or lossless. Also, when you go into Find My to locate a device, so maybe you're trying to locate the iPhone 13 Pro Max, there's a new sound. So if I go into my Apple Watch, I'll just locate it under Find Devices. We'll play a sound and give it just a moment to connect, and it should play a sound. So that's the new sound if you're trying to locate a device. It's new to Beta 5. Now, if we go into Settings and then we go to Accessibility, under Accessibility, we have Control Nearby Devices, which isn't new, but we have a new icon. So we have Control Nearby Devices and Apple Watch Mirroring. And if we go to Settings, you'll see here that the icon is actually different for Control Nearby Devices, from Beta 4 on the left to Beta 5 on the right. It's a slight change, and I'm not sure it better represents Control Nearby Devices. I kind of like the old icon better, but let me know what you think in the comments below. Now, if we take a screenshot and then we go into the screenshot, maybe we want to copy something, so we'll just copy this Apple Watch mirroring text, tap on copy, then we hit done. We'll now have copy and delete. So we now have the option to copy the text, and then it automatically deletes the screenshot instead of just deleting it. So it's a nice little refinement that they've added with Beta 5. Now, if we go home and then we go to activate emergency SOS. So what we'll do is press the side button 5 times on both Beta 4 and Beta 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And as you can see here, there's a bit of a bug. Let me try that again on Beta 4. And as you can see, they've changed the wording ever so slightly from emergency SOS to emergency call with Beta 5. So it's just a small wording change, but something that's a little bit different. If we bring in AirPods, so these are my AirPods Pro, let them connect. I'll just take one out of the case here. Once it's connected to your device, of course, you're already familiar with the new dialog that shows up, or the little settings option. We'll make sure they're connected. Once they're connected, we've got our new settings pane, and down at the bottom, you'll see we have the version number. tap on version, and we now have a separate settings menu. So it shows the version and the case firmware. Before, it was just a single little version number here. You could tap on it and see the case separately. Now it's actually a separate pane for that. I did have a couple users mention to me that when they restarted their phone for the first time, it actually asked them to unlock your SIM. It asked for them to put in their SIM pin, or they could skip it. So this is something people are seeing if they have a SIM pin set for cellular data. Not everyone has it. I don't have it set, but if you do, you will have this option pop up. Also, if you go into automatic updates, so we'll go back here, we'll go to general and then software updates, you'll see first of all the font is a little bit bolder with the software update, and if we go into automatic updates, it's spaced a little bit differently. This is a very small change, of course, but I just wanted to point it out as it's something I noticed when I went into automatic updates. So beta 4 on the left, beta 5 on the right. Now there's also some new splash screens as well. So the first time you go into photos, you should see a new splash screen pop up. You'll see it says what's new in photos, shared library, copy and paste edits, and merge duplicates. We also have a new splash screen in maps. So if we go into that, give it just a moment there, and we have a splash screen with some new icons that say multi-stop routing, transit cards, and landmarks. Also, if we go into the Home app, we have one also. So if we go into Home, and I may have already opened it on this device, let's go into it on the iPhone 8 here. So you'll see within Home on the iPhone 8 Plus, I hadn't opened it before. We have new home categories, your home at a glance, control with your home, or control your home with a tap, and multi-camera view. Also, if we go into Find My, we should have one as well. And within Find My, you'll see that it says what's new in Find My, findable when powered off, Find My network for AirPods, and refreshed map. So that's something new in beta 5. Now there's also quite a few code changes throughout. We're still discovering that. I've been working with Steve Mosier on that, and also finding different code changes for wording throughout the OS, whether that be the Health app and other places as well. Now within iOS 16 beta 5 and iOS 16 public beta 3, there's a bunch of resolved and known issues as well. If we go into the Feedback app, go under Recent Activity, then under the notes for beta 5, you'll see we have some resolved issues. The first one says users can experience slow animations when using Zoom after leaving the Magnifier app. That's been resolved in beta 5. So that's something that's new. There's also known issues. As you can see here, there's 11 known issues. The pointer won't behave correctly on an external display if the assistive touch accessibility feature is enabled. Disable it while using an external display. So again, if we continue down, you'll see under CarPlay, wireless CarPlay can fail to connect. That's actually been resolved in beta 5. Deleting clock inadvertently deletes the sleep alarm. That's been resolved as well. So a bunch of fixes in here, not 100 plus fixes like we had with beta 4, but a bunch of bugs have been resolved this time around. And that leads me to, should you install iOS 16 beta 5? And at this point, it will take a few days to know how it is over beta 4, but if you're already a beta tester, definitely install it. If you're not already, you may want to hold off a few days until I have a follow-up and I talk more about if it's fairly stable or not, as beta 4 definitely had some issues here and there. As far as the storage issues or any other bugs, it will take a few days to know if there's any bugs remaining in this. So storage, we do have iPhone storage for health that I pointed out with beta 4. So we'll give it just a moment to load. And as you can see, as we scroll down all the way to the bottom, system data, more and more people are asking me about this. I wouldn't worry about this at all, as this is sort of system cache. The only time I'd worry about this is if it's using up data that you can't actually install a new app because there's too much. Otherwise, you really should ignore it, and that's why it's buried down at the bottom. So it's something that Apple uses in the background as they need more storage here and there with different things such as cache. You'll see I have 44 gigabytes in use. That will decrease over time, but since I don't need it, I'm not really worried about it. Now, as far as iOS 15.7, many people have been asking me about this, so I thought I'd mention it. iOS 15.7 could be just a single release that comes in September. Last year, Apple released iOS 14.8, and that was released in September without any betas. So they definitely could do something similar this year, but maybe have a small fix in between with iOS 15.6.1. If so, they could have security updates, but don't expect any major features or changes there, just compatibility with maybe some new changes with iOS 16. As far as iOS 16 Public Beta 4 and iOS 16 Beta 6 for developers, at this point I would expect weekly releases until the release candidate and final release in September. Many people think the next Apple event either will be in the first or second full week of September. many people think around the 13th, and it will be a virtual event with minimal media there as well, similar to WWDC. So I would expect iOS 16 to release sometime in mid-September around the iPhone 14, 14 Plus, 14 Pro, and 14 Pro Max, and Apple Watch. Then iPadOS later in October. That's what many people are saying at this point. Last year we had Beta 5 on August 10th, then Beta 6th on August 17th. So at this point, I would expect weekly betas from here on out until the final release. Also, this would have some security updates in it, although Apple doesn't share those with us until the final version is out. As far as iPadOS 16 Beta 5, as far as anything new, it's all the same as iOS at this point, and if I find anything new, I'll be sure to share that with you. But basically, it's the same thing at this point. All of the changes carry over. Now, as far as battery life, many people ask me to check that and how it's been going, but typically this takes a few days to know how it's going. If we go to settings, I shared a little bit of that earlier. Go down to battery. Battery health is now at 99%. It's finally dropped for me, so it's typically at 100. Now it's finally dropped after using this as my main device for a year. And then also over the last 10 days, you'll see here, yesterday I had an hour and 7 minutes. I kind of took the weekend off. So last Friday I had 4 hours and 29 minutes of screen on time, 2 hours and 25 minutes of screen off time. Used about 50% to 60% of my battery. It's getting me through a day, but it's not phenomenal. Hopefully this one is much, much better. As far as overall performance, so far it seems to be okay. On the iPhone 11 and 8 Plus, I really had no issues. I've been looking for new features and things like that. But if we go into music, we'll go into music for the first time on the 8 Plus. I didn't have it open on that before, but I did have it on the 11 looking for new features. Scrolling is smooth. Going into different apps is smooth. I'm trying to swipe on the 8 Plus, and everything seems to be okay so far. But I always say let's give it a few days, and we'll run the Geekbench scores then, as they're typically going to take a few days to know what everything is like. Also, as far as iPhone overheating or the phone getting hot, it's been surprisingly cool this entire time. Typically, it's a little bit warmer, and again, I'll show more about that with the FLIR thermal camera in the follow-up video. But so far, it's actually been quite good with Beta 5 over using it for the past couple of hours. If you've found anything else, though, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below, and of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do. If you haven't subscribed already, though, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.